when the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality. Open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club by DLC.
Hello, book clubbers! Welcome to another edition of the DLC Book Club. Hope you had a chance to dance this morning. We love starting our morning with a little boogie in our seat. I'm Jeff Kanata. I'm here with Lana Bashinsky. Hi, Lana.
Hello and good morning. I just want to say thank you to those of you who reached out to me from the book club to check up on me. It's been a bit of a tragic week in the gaming industry, in mass layoffs at the company I work for, Riot Games, early in their week. Just this morning, company I used to work for, Activision Blizzard, massive layoff this morning. So really, really sad stuff. But I gotta say, it really warmed my heart to have folks from the community reach out to me. So thank you so much for thinking of me. It really meant a lot in a pretty bummer time.
Yeah. Well, certainly our heart goes out to all the folks that were affected by those layoffs. Just tragic to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad we get to converge and still hang out and talk about these awesome novels. We are doing 2 chapters today from House of Chains, the 4th novel in the book of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. The Tales of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. And I'm not really sure how we're going to be able to summarize. There's so much. There's just 2 short chapters. So much stuff.
I feel like I my barometer for like how I'm feeling mentally in my ability to parse everything is measured by like other books. So I'm like feel like I'm with a couple parts of these chapters like back in Gardens of the Moon territory. Early Gardens of the Moon vibes in the sense that I'm like, what?
Well, I don't know. I don't think I feel what is what. I feel like, oh my gosh, I'm getting it. But like, ask me to describe it to somebody else. I don't know. We're gonna see how well I do.
I don't feel like confused, but like we started talking just before the show, but like in these chapters, it's like there's moments that people, I love the way it's done because it does feel so natural. In that people are like, oh yeah, you know this city, and everybody's like, yeah, I know, of course I know that city. But I've never read that name of that city. I've never read those words before, but everybody's like, oh yeah, of course. And like, it feels like, it feels natural in the sense that like if you were hanging out with a group of people that you knew from another place, it's not likely that every city name in the region or even in the history of the space would come up. And so it feels natural. But for me, I'm like, oh, the new information. Everybody knows this. I should know this. And it's very interesting to sort of be a part of that conversation from this space of obviously not knowing everything.
Big lore drops, big focusing in these 2 chapters. But, you know, we always start the show with a non-spoiler topic so that if you have not caught up with us, you can still hang out and talk a little bit about books. We have a special one this week, pretty special. Pretty darn cool. Last week, if you recall, we talked about maps, fantasy maps that tend to be in the first couple of pages of a fantasy novel. And we shared our delight in exploring those maps. And that's one of the things I really love about this genre is the map. And I think it's one of the things that defines the genre. Well, folks, we were very lucky to have Steven Erikson himself reach out. He sent me an email this week in regard to the maps, saying that the maps that we see in the novels published by Bantam were not his original maps. They were, in fact, made by a third party that was commissioned by Bantam because his maps were too detailed, they had too many kind of small details to work in the small format print medium. So if, coming out in paperback in a small format, the publisher was like, these just aren't going to work. We're going to have to commission our own. But Mr. Erikson was so kind as to forward one of his maps on to us. And here it is. Check this out. This is the map of Jerujistan, which is not featured in the books. This is Steven Erikson's original artwork. And it's easy to, or at least it's easy for me to forget, Lana, that we talked to Mr. Erikson and he said that, he originally had ambitions to become a professional artist. Like he was going to work in comic books. He was an illustrator. And you could tell.
Oh yeah.
With this piece of artwork, you are also an artist. And so you're probably much more qualified to be able to talk intelligently about what we're looking at here. But I'm blown away by, as he said, the level of detail, the artistry. I just love this map.
I love this map. It is so cool. I could see why, like, shrinking it down to like a paperback size would be challenging because I can't see exactly how you're showing it to everybody else, but like the tiny hatch marks and little tiny boxes that make up the city feels so great. It feels so dense.
Yeah.
It's so like seeing both like Steven Erikson's, history in archaeology, in history, and like knowing. I think so much about that story of like wanting to go in and play D&D and make your own setting that becomes Malazan because you're like the cartography, it doesn't make sense. These maps wouldn't make sense together geographically.
Right.
And then just knowing like how thoughtful this is and how organic it feels to have the hills through the farms, through the quarry on the other side. It just feels great. And the bay. And like to sort of draw it back into what I was saying earlier, we don't know all the places that like you can hang out with somebody, they're not going to say the name of every neighborhood just so you know it. So coming in here and seeing the pieces that we have read about before, the Gadrobi district, the Marsh district, Dara, like those are pieces that come in play. But I'm like looking at the Cutter Hills, like, interesting Cutter Hills with our sweet crocus coming from Darujistan.
Yeah.
What happens on the Tender Island?
Yeah, I know, right? There's a lot of stuff that we haven't really heard referenced yet specifically, and may
or
never.
Will we ever? Yeah.
Yeah. I love the way the topography is conveyed here. The way the hills and stuff are kind of they give a sense of this kind of rural countryside. The way that the hills are made with those hash marks with lots of space between them. I love that. It kind of feels like they're wheat fields and they have texture. They're not just mountainous. They're kind of textured mountains.
Yeah.
And I love that. And like you said, the density of the city itself, where you feel like every one of those tiny little squares is a structure of some kind, and it's all packed on top of itself. And people are just, it feels hustling and bustling. It feels dense. It feels populated. I love it. I love a map. And I recall now, hearing about the Tuox Gate and people going in and out through that, and the guards outside the Tuox Gate. And, it's such a shame that this isn't accessible to most readers of the novels, because I feel like there's a clarity here. And I'm so curious, I think the maps in the Malazan books are perfectly fine. I use them. I like them. I look at them. But man, I feel like Erikson's maps based on this one, if you get all of the others of all of the continents, I bet they would be gorgeous and probably be even more impressive if they were able to be published.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm like just zooming in and like noticing even more details.
Yeah.
Like there's a second tier wall and a third tier wall in the city. And then the river that runs through the middle of the city, the
Yeah.
river Foss, is not something that like would have been sitting in my brain about like where this is positionally.
Right.
Yeah. It's so gorgeous.
I mean, even the font that, you know, is clearly hand drawn here is
Mhm.
rad, you know, with Darujistan itself, and, you know, the sort of larger words done in this kind of cool script that is,
Yeah, it's very personal, and but like the
yeah,
style of it, at least for maps like this, like very familiar. It is so unique, and even the little shield and sword as the compass in the bottom corner.
rad, right? And how good do you have to be able to actually put a key to the
distance.
scale?
Yeah.
Like,
Is that but here's now what I gotta ask. That's the scale and it's for 3/4 of a mile. Why not just bump it up a little bit and make it for a whole mile?
Hey man, I guarantee you he's got a reason.
That's why I'm asking. There's got to be a reason that's like, this is the length that you use for maps no matter what, and then you tell
Yeah.
me how long that length is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I tell you my favorite detail of this map?
Yes, please.
In the upper left,
Mm.
there is Mayton,
Yeah.
and then Eastleigh Mayton, which is to the west of Mayton. I love that Eastleigh Mayton is west of Mayton.
That's really funny.
I just that's so cheeky and wonderful. I love it.
I don't know.
Anyway, we felt very privileged and grateful to be able to show this to you. Mr. Erikson specifically said we had the ability to show it on the show. So thank you, Steven Erikson, for sharing this with us and with the audience. What a cool treat to be able to show his artwork on the show and this map of a city that, you know, we've visited so many times already in the novels and never really gotten this kind of detailed map for. So I'm just delighted.
And if you, Mr. Erikson, want info on like getting a high risk scan and maybe there's a print in somebody's future,
Yeah.
let me know. Get at me. I am here for it because it really is such beautiful, beautiful penmanship, and what a special, special thing. So thank you so much for sharing this with us.
Yeah, thank you. All right, let's jump in and talk about chapters 20 and 21 of House of Chains. So spoilers starting right now. Chapter 20. We start with Cutter / Crocus and Absalar. They are trying to fulfill Cotillion's wish of meeting up with his agent. They don't know who the agent is. They don't know where the agent is, but they're on these Idur ships looking around with through all these corpses. Our boy Crocus is a little weirded out that Absalar is like bloody and so what are you doing? She's like, just looking around.
Just
exploring, you know.
I love that.
Yeah. And they are, you know, they're kind of figuring out some stuff. Absalar says, I feel like some necromantic energy up in here.
Mm-hmm.
And Crocus quotes his uncle Mammoth, who we haven't heard about in quite a long time. I remember Mammoth. He was big in the first novel. And Absalar says a really interesting thing. So they're talking about, he says, oh yeah, my uncle would have said that these human Warrens are just denigrated versions of their elder Warren counterparts, which is already an interesting insight. And then Absalar says, yeah, even blood decays, which I was like, ding, 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 because we've been told that the Warrens are the blood of Cruel, their elder god Cruel's blood, which I'm still not clear on how that works. But interesting that Absalar kind of hits the nail on the head. I don't know if that's because she's got some insight or if she just is sort of making a reference that happens to be accurate. What is your take on that?
I feel like there's no way that she can't have some insight, because otherwise it's too weird of a thing to say.
Yeah.
Even blood decays. And if you didn't know, like, when it comes to Warrens, like what they are in the greater scheme of the world you're living in, you'd be like, yeah, what do you mean even? How about, of course it does. It's an organic
Right.
substance. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about? So,
but people aren't supposed to know that, right? That's supposed to be super secret. So it's interesting that she knows that it's blood.
I agree.
God.
I think it's but I feel like there's so much that we don't know about, like what Cotillion and Kellenved know.
Right.
It's talked about later. They disappeared for a couple of years before they came back, and they intentionally seemed to come back knowing that they would get killed. So what did they learn? Where have they gone? So that my brain says
how much does she know because she was possessed, like all that.
Yes.
You reference it, and I find this stuff to be the most fascinating stuff of these two chapters. It feels like a number of people start thinking along these lines of the first throne and what Kellenved / Dancers / Shadow Throne / Cotillion were up to. And it feels like everybody is kind of, not everybody, but a number of people are kind of focusing on that at the same time in the novel.
Mm-hmm.
The first to do so are Crocus and Absalar, who have this really cool conversation where they're kind of stumbling upon what they think might be the real plot here, the real, Kellenved and
Crocus
Dancers
says that
plot.
as like a joke, right? He's like, so silly. Maybe he's just trying to put his butt in all the thrones.
Yeah. Maybe he just sits on what if he just sits on all the thrones? And Absalar's, maybe that's his plan. He's like, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you sit on a throne and then not use it? Mm-hmm. He's like, oh, wait, that's what the Azath houses are all about, is consolidating power or focusing power, but not using the power.
Yeah. So,
which is an interesting concept.
It's so interesting. I think I jumped a little bit ahead. So just for clarity, they're talking about it, and I felt like we learned a very interesting piece of information that Absalar is just like, oh yeah, this is the truth, which is that the first throne that Kellenved sat on, like even before he took over Shadow Throne, was the Talon Warren. He is like the rightful Emperor of the Talanamas.
Well, okay, so let's step through this because I found this stuff really interesting.
Yes.
So the Talanamas, for some reason, have decided that the only people that can rule them are mortals, even though they are immortal. Mm-hmm. So a mortal has to sit on the throne. Kellenved's like, hey, I happen to be mortal. Sweet for me. But you have to find it. You got to find it. It's been hidden, which is, I think, kind of a very funny idea on the face of it, but also extremely cool. That it's like, there's a seat. Let's just hide the seat. If nobody can sit on the seat, then they can't be the ruler.
It's interesting that it is like this physical thing, and it's not like, oh yeah, you take the throne by like, oh, you feel it in your heart, and then you're the ruler or whatever. It's like, no, you put your butt in the chair.
You can't speak unless you're holding the conch.
Yeah.
If you don't have the conch, no one can speak. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So like, we'll literally hide the chair so no one can sit in it. And evidently, Kellenved found it. We still don't know how he found it. Right. But he found it and then sat in it. But the thing everybody is talking about is, wow, interesting that he didn't take advantage of that.
So here's one of the things I think is really interesting in general, of like him not taking advantage of it because he doesn't want to reveal that he has that power. It feels like they're stumbling upon these sort of truths because Absalar has this connection with Cotillion, so she knows definitively that they are truths. But she's like, people know this. Not a ton of people, but some people know this enough. And he just wanted to like fly under the radar because it would call the wrath of the gods. Like somebody who has as much power as he would have in that moment, they would have been like, nah, honey, you get smoked.
Yeah. So this specifically just to call that out, just to put a finer point on it, it's the imperial throne, which would be, being the emperor of the Malazan Empire, right? And the throne of shadow. So having sort of like mortal secular power and also, godly magical power, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I guess would the gods not know that he sat on the Talon throne then?
I think the idea here is that the way I understand it is that they would sort of start to take notice that, the same person is sitting on lots of thrones. So he's trying to he's trying to line it all up so they can just put his butt in all those spots
under his with his like glasses with a mustache attached, being like, "No, it's not Kellenved, it's Jacques Clouseau or whatever."
Well, no, my feeling was like they're lining it all up so at the same moment, or very close together temporally, that they can be like, okay, we've got them all, boom. So it's not like we're slowly
accruing the power.
Acquiring it, yeah. Whereas if you acquire it and using it, then people are like, "You're a threat. We're gonna have to strike you down." It's more like we're not using it, we're not sitting in it, but we could. And then at one moment, it's like, "Oh, we got them all. Boom! Now we got it all. Now you can't do anything."
So your understanding is that they have the throne. My understanding is that he sat in the throne, so he's got that power. Period.
And he did. Yes, that was how I think. My understanding is that that's how they even created the Malazan Empire, or solidified it, or consolidated the power, was he had the Talanamas to use.
Yeah.
He could command them to do whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
But everyone was like, he used such restraint in using them.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha. But I do think it's interesting. I did not get the vibe that they were like collecting the thrones like Pokemon cards, so that they can put them all in the room and like as quickly as they can. He's been doing squats for years just so he can stand up and down as fast as possible between these chairs.
We need butts in all these seats. Well, but see, I mean, I may be completely wrong here, but that was my understanding, because the Throne of Shadow, we know that they have taken, which is this, this warren that has become its own house. Like, so they went, okay, I will not be the emperor. I will fake my own death.
Yeah.
And let Lysine become empress. So I'm not sitting in that one, so I can sit in this one.
Yes.
But I think what everybody's thinking is, oh no, they intend to sit back in. They're only occupying one at a time so as not to make waves. But because they're sort of accessing each of these in turn, they're making it so that they can jump back in and occupy all of them at once and consolidate all that power.
Okay. The things that I got, the hints that I thought they were dropping, I think that that's correct, the correct read on everything. The things that I didn't get was that they were like trying to abstain from using other ones now. I thought it was a slow collection, but always under a different guise. And so that somehow tricks people into being like, I guess you're not the same person. I mean,
that might not be
for those 3 years, with them being like, what did they do in that time? There's thrones we don't even know of. I'm like, oh yeah, he just been putting his butt in all these things. He's already got a collection of 15 random thrones we've never heard of in the back room, and maybe they're just chairs in a room and he's going to sit in all of them to do it at once. But my thought was that it was something that he already has an undisclosed amount of potential power that he's just never used. Like,
that might be true too. Yeah. I think I think none of those is mutually exclusive. I think that could all be true. We don't know what the missing 2 years is about, but we know that they were following an Azath trail, right? So they were trying to sort of do what the Azath do. I don't even know what the Azath is, to be honest. But whatever Azath is, the notion is Azath has all this power that is unused. They're not flexing the power, right?
Mhm.
They're just sitting on it's the wrong way. Can't use that because we've been talking about sitting as a. But they've been just kind
Hoarding
of
it. They just have it.
Preventing other people from having it.
Mhm.
Really is the idea here, right? Is we have the power, so no one, and we're not abusing the power, and we're preventing other people from abusing the power. We're just sort of occupying the space so that it can't be used by anybody.
Mhm.
And I think that might be what the missing 2 years is about, is trying to sort of follow that template and do the same thing so they can get to a point where the music stops and butts get in seats.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
Thank you. I do. So the another much more general question I have is that we've seen with Warrens, it's kind of like there's like a space you're like, if you are feeling enough feelings and you're dedicated enough mentally, people are sort of like making their own Warrens or shaping Warrens that are like new in a certain way. Is there like, once your Warren becomes like truly in like a Warren status, just intrinsically you're like, well, time to build a chair?
Well, I think
Or it's not every Warren has a throne.
Yeah, I think that's true. But there's something that is tied to the deck of dragons, right? Because once you hit a certain level, you are welcomed into the deck of dragons, and now you have roles to fill.
Yes.
Right?
So you need
because now you're in the deck of dragons
for your court.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's when you need a throne, per se. I don't know if it always is a physical thing, but
yeah.
Or if it, or if even, there's a possibility that the physical thing is merely a
conduit.
Yes, a token of representation for the metaphysical thing, right? That it's not super important that you have the physical thing, but that is
the ultimate
has
symbol.
Been channeled into representing who is the metaphysical ruler.
Man, why not make it like a Rubik's Cube, add a little challenge there.
Well, the challenge is finding it, but also I feel like through the whole first part of this novel, it wasn't super hard for people to find it. Yeah. It's like on Drift Avali. It's like,
everyone knows it's on that floating island. Yeah, you have to boat out there, and it's tough to like land, but you could do it. And it just, even like the chapter with like the Onrack being like, oh yeah, the chair. It's no guards.
Yeah,
he doesn't say that.
We'll get there.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Okay, so a couple other revelations here. I'm really glad we stepped through that, because while we may be very wrong, I do feel like I have a clarity in talking it out with you. So again, they faked their own deaths so that all the other gods wouldn't strike them down. You said that. I think that's important. Also, Cotillion has, as part of that faction of Cotillion and the Shadow Throne, sent Cutter and Absalar to the island.
Actually, one last thing quickly, just because you said they faked their own deaths. Do you think Empress Lacine is in on it?
I do now. I didn't before. I thought for the longest time she genuinely believed she had killed them and they duped her. But now, and I think part of the evidence to that is that like this is how she operates in the whole Whiskey Jack Dujek thing of like, oh, I banish you. I hate you guys.
You are too mean.
Wait a couple weeks and then come back and we'll, so I think that's the kind of modus operandi she, works with. So that leads me to believe that this was all, they were super in on it. Like, you will become Empress until we're ready, and then we'll come back and take it back from you and it'll be cool. But having said that, a lot of the stuff that's happened in the early novels has been very contentious between Shadow Throne and Lacine. So I don't know if that was all an act or...
the thing that I sort of go back to, and like I could be, again, my goldfish memory, things could be fuzzy. Kalam goes, confronts the Empress. He
Yes.
doesn't get bad vibes. And he's like, okay, I get it. And he's out.
Right.
And then it was like revealed like the place in which the Empress was talking to Kalam from was like a skull. It was like a skeleton,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Is the Empress even actually on the throne, or is she like an entity? Have we physically seen her ever? Do we
We
know
have
if
not
she's
that I'm
real?
aware of.
Did they
Yeah.
say, "Oh, the Empress killed us," and really that they like vaporized her and just her skelly bones are sitting in a chair somewhere?
I got the sense that that was more astral projection style. Like
Yeah.
she's in a different place, and that's the way she used to she's using Zoom. Like that's magic Zoom.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
She works from home. She's the Empress. She could do that.
It's a her by decree.
Yeah, she's in more of a
4-day work week. She's
yes,
really progressive.
Exactly. She's a hybrid Empress, you know? She's 2 days at home, 3 days in the throne, you know. It's a sweet gig if you can swing it.
It's actually it's like 2 days at home, 3 days in the bones of other people.
Okay, so the other thing we learned is so the Cotillion sends Crocus and Absalar to the island,
Yes.
Drift Avali. Like, hey, protect the throne. In doing so, Darist is killed. Vengeance, the sword is given to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
The Tisti Dur are wiped out. And the Throne of
Basically.
Shadow is secret again. So this is all stuff that they put together of like, hey, maybe that's why we were sent there. So Cotillion, so they can just like continue to keep their stranglehold on this throne that they're not actually sitting on, but also nobody is sitting on.
Mm-hmm. A secret.
A secret. I got a secret. Okay. All right. So that's one scene of the first chapter. I told you this is going to be a hard episode. We're half an hour in.
Yeah.
So then Onrack and Troll have a scene, which starts, I think, comedically with them like musing about turtles. Very funny.
Like musing about the turtles that are like around them.
Yeah. He's like, that turtle is off to have some hanky-panky with a lady turtle. And he's like, do you have any hanky-panky? He's like, no, not me. I don't. I'm not a hanky-panky. He's like, oh yeah, we wait till marriage. Oh yeah, so do we, except nobody does.
Yeah. I just love that he was like, too bad there's not two of these turtles. We could ride them. The turtle's moving so slowly. He's like, I think he'd say the same thing.
I kind of want to ask Steven about that because I feel like that's an inside joke. Like the writing of the turtles thing feels like an inside joke to he said they put in inside jokes to each other, he and Esselmont. Mm-hmm. And I wonder, that felt to me like an inside joke. Like, why do we just talk about riding a turtle for no reason? Very funny though. Mm-hmm. But anyway, they they're talking about the Bonecasters. Like, hey, I know what we'll do. We'll list them all off. Here's a bunch of Bonecaster names, and I was just like, it's too many Bonecaster names.
Well, are they they're trying to whittle it down because they're
trying to figure out who the traitor is, right?
Yeah, who the traitor is. But they were talking about the throne, and it's this scene where they're like, oh yeah, Kellenvid sat on our throne. Everybody knows that. He's like our rightful ruler guy. And they're like, there's definitely going to be a traitor who's going to try and put somebody else's human butt in that seat.
Yeah.
And then they list all the names, but like a bunch of which we've seen before, and they're trying to get it down to like one of the ones that we haven't. So Kilava, that's like Tool's sister, right?
Right. And they're hanging out together. We left off with them hanging out together, walking off into the sunset. So we don't know what they're even up to, right?
Kilava's gonna like sit on that throne, right?
Maybe. At this point, I don't know.
They're like, it has to be immortal, so it can't be one of us. Bummer that we did that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, mortal. Yeah, but Kilava though.
Yeah. Well, but also we know that Silver Fox became a mortal Bonecaster, which seems really important. But then they're like, well, if somebody else sits on the throne, they actually get to command Silver Fox too, or whatever her name is. Yeah, Silver Fox.
Yeah.
So she has to be. I mean, they literally,
Well,
talk about that specifically. Like they wanted to have them freed. They want to end their existence. She said no. But if somebody sits on the throne, they will command her too.
what I think is interesting is because Onrack, right, has been separated from the vow. He's like, yeah, they all want to end their existence. But now that I'm no longer part of the vow, that seems like a tragic end. I don't think they really want
Yes.
that. I think
Right.
that they want to end the vow,
Right.
but I think they would want to live. It's
Right.
like a little insight in there that I thought was interesting and has potential for like mass featured tragedy in this book.
Totally. Well, and then Onrack is like, we really have to find Monok Ochem and see what they're thinking, because I feel like the Unbound, all of Karsa Orlong's former gods, they're like looking for the throne. They're headed to find it, right? They're headed south. We know they're going to find it. We should really talk to Monok Ochem. And he's like, Monok Ochem. And it's like, yes, you rang.
He's like, you mean that person that was like ready to kill us within like one heartbeat? You want to wait here for them? Okay, I guess.
I mean, I love these two. They're kind of goofy buddies, Trull and Onrack, but also super serious. It's not as goofy as some of the other goofy duos we've had in the that I've loved in the series, but they have their own kind of goofy interaction, which I enjoy. But so Monok Ochem and Ilbra Golan appear, and he's like, okay, we figured it out. Monok, get this. I know you want to kill me. Just
but
wait
don't
1 second.
yet.
let me explain to you what we figured out. We think that the Unbound want to put a mortal Tisti Dur on the first throne so that they command everyone, including the mortal Bonecaster. Let us help you stop that. And Monok is like, deal. It's like instantly like, yes, you've nailed it.
Processing,
nailed
it. Yes. So then here's my other little thing. I'm like, Troll's going to put his butt on that throne, right?
Pearl?
Troll.
Oh, Trull. Trull is the Tisti Dur.
They're like, they want a Tisti Dur. They want to do blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are they not like luring you out there? And then they're already sitting here acknowledging like, you got a good human here, being a good, or not a human, good
Tisti
bro
Dur.
here, Tisti Dur, doing that. They like give him validation of like, oh, you found a good bro.
Yeah.
My brain is
That's
like,
interesting.
He's sitting on that. That's like foreshadowing. They want to put a Tisti Dur on there, but you know who's going to end up there? Troll's ending up there.
I did not go there, but that makes a lot of sense. I love that you put that together. That's interesting. Interesting.
It's a total like pie in the sky sort of shot. There's like enough like little things there. I feel like I gotta
love it.
Call it like I see it.
All right, so the next scene is another just delightful moment with another kind of goofy pair. I love our little buddy cop movie with Lestara and Pearl, Lestara Yill and Pearl, where they're still on the trail. They're like, okay, we gotta travel to the scene of the crime where Shaik was murdered by me. I'm the one who did it, but let's go back and see exactly what happened here. Yes, I love it. And she's like, if only my murder would have worked, everything would have been fine. Everything would have been great. Felicin wouldn't have needed to even come here. Chain of Dogs wouldn't have happened. Empress Lysine would have taken Pormqual and tried him for incompetence. Our buddy Coltaine wouldn't have died. Like, if only my murder would have happened.
Lestara, weight of the world on those shoulders, girl.
Love it. Also love the image of them coming back to the scene of the crime where they're like, they didn't even clean up these two guys, these two bodyguards. They just left. They left all the bodies of the Red Blades. Oh, and also they left Shaik's body. And that image of it, the crossbow bolt breaking through the skull and the skull full of sand now.
Yeah.
I loved that.
So
So
cool.
rad.
She's like, if only my murder worked, but it does look like it did work.
Yeah. How is it that her body's here, but she's still causing us a problem somewhere? And then they put those 2 and 2 together. I love this like investigative little journey that they went on, and they come to the right conclusion. Pearl's like, it's Felicin. It's Felicin. She was reborn as, and she's like, no, can't be. Oh, it does sound good. It does sound right.
Sounds right. And you know what feels right? And honestly, if you were thrown in like in a toddler mine by your sibling, wouldn't you want some kind of little revenge situation?
Yeah. So good. So she's like, okay, well, we really should go back and tell everyone, most notably Felicin's sister, Tavor, what we learned. She's right that way through that giant pillar of swirling dust and sand. Oh, we can't go through that. The magical whirlwind. Can't go by Warren through the magical whirlwind. What are we going to do? Well, we'll have to walk right through it because Lestara Yil is native Pardu, which means all of the alarms won't go off.
Yeah, the DNA sensors of the whirlwind.
Yeah.
I was fully ready to be like, all right, and they're going to get burnt to a crisp, right? What time of day is it? They're just going to walk through and they'll be incinerated right here, right now? No?
I love how it's like no foreigners can go through the, you're part not foreigner? All right, pass through. Fine. No alarm, fine. No problem. And she's like, well, how are you going to come through, Pearl? And he's like, I'm just going to be right here in your shadow. Just walking right behind you in your shadow. No one will see me.
Does he disappear like into her shadow the same way we've seen with like the demons taking everybody's body and their shadows are filled with writhing bodies? Or is it like
my mental image was not that at all. My mental image was like walk. Yeah, like, keep walking at a very normal pace so that I can pretend I'm just your little shadow.
Whirlwind God is not that observant.
Well, as we'll find out in the next chapter or the next couple of scenes, everybody thinks you can get through the whirlwind by just being in the shadows. Yeah. But like, now correct me if I'm wrong, because I could very well be wrong on this, but isn't the whirlwind a fractured part of the Warren of Shadow?
Yeah, I believe that you're right.
Right.
But this is where I'd be like, or is it the Warren of Darkness?
No, I think it's the Warren of Shadow. Anyway, this might be a fight fire with fire type of a situation where it's like, you're the part shadow. So if we're in the shadows, you won't notice us.
Or shadow makes you feel like not a foreigner because it is shadow. So you're shadow, shadow all good.
Yeah. Anyway,
and they did not incinerate, but they were feeling hot in a different way, baby.
Yes, well done. I love their little flirty arguments. Very fun. Where she's like, "You can't answer anything succinctly." Whoa! Oh, does your feet hurt? Well, yes. All the Warrens, or the 3 elder Warrens. It's like it's so funny that she makes fun of him like that.
Look, this is. I remember a comment from Steven on one of our videos where he's like, "I've had those like real conversations with my wife." And now I gotta be like, was there that much animosity between the two of you? Hey, I need the whole story. Let's talk about love. Let's talk about life.
You haven't been married that long, Lana, but let's just put it this way. It's not abnormal. You know what I'm saying?
All I know is in my relationship, I'm the pearl. Jeff is constantly annoyed at me, and yet you still like her. You still like her.
I thought that was very funny. They walk through. It's like it's only a few. Like, are we gonna make it? Are we gonna make it? We made it. All right, let's bang.
Waste no time.
Next scene is Kalam, who we know was thrown into a fissure by a demon. Mm-hmm. He wakes up. Here's the Thanos song in his head. He also thinks that the whirlwind won't detect him if he travels in shadows, but he's kind of wandering around. He doesn't know where he is. All of a sudden he hears people walking and chanting, And they carry this another amazing image, this standard, a pole with a human rib cage with a skull inside it.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, boy, those look like odd, but those are ghosts?
Ghosts.
those. I just like all of a sudden ghosts are a thing.
And he's not like, what? He's like, oh yeah, ghosts.
Yeah.
Let's go see what's up with the ghosts.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to walk up close to him and see if I can touch him.
Oh, you know what? Rib cage?
Nope, can't touch him.
Rib cage standard? Must be friendly.
Yeah. Must be. That's classic ghost. And they're like having a conversation that I did not. I tried to parse. I tried to grok. They're talking about first Emperor Decimbalacus.
Oh, that's the word.
Decimbalacus. And the seven protectors banishing a black beast.
Mm-hmm.
The nameless ones. It's a lot.
Now that you're saying it after finishing those chapters, so when I first read it, I was like, these words will mean something at some point, but they don't right now. But now that you just said those things back to back, I'm like, oh yeah, we did sort of hear about the rest of this through the rest of the book.
Yes. So then the ghosts go on their merry way. He's like, well, that was the day I saw a bunch of ghosts. Okay, well, moving on. and then a dude in black robes with an ivory staff shows up and is like, oh, that's Tano. That's Tano,
of the song.
Of the Tano song. I know you, Tano.
Uh-huh.
Tano, the last seneschal of Yeragatan. Obviously.
Yeah.
Who gave the seven protectors a song to mark their last battle.
I can't recall. Wasn't there the people who do you have like the song magic and they're like, we'll write you a song and
this is the Tano song. Yeah,
Oh, this is it.
Yeah, this is the dude. I mean, this is the guy. I think the sort of patron saint of this stuff. You know, these are the songs, the Tano songs. We know this Tano spirit walker. I want to say Tano spirit walker.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember the guy's name, but
yeah.
So then Kalam's like, oh, that was weird. That was the day I saw ghosts and the day I also met Tano. Anyway, I'll keep moving along. This day is weird. What else could happen? Well, I'll tell you what else could happen. This Pardew horseman ride up. This shaman gets off his horse, twists his ankle. Everyone laughs. Hilarious. And the Pardew shaman is like, I'm going to do a ritual. And for some reason, make these hounds appear, which immediately kill him.
Kill us. Like how quickly we sort of rolled through this and that. I'm like, were they ghosts? Is this a memory? What are we watching? That was so weird.
I know. And then he's like, "Oh, dude, all those the shaman conjures the hounds.
One of the hounds that Onrack released, right? Not like a Hound of Shadow, but like some other.
This is the other thing that
there's too many puppet dogs in this dang book.
There's a lot of hounds. There's big muscly hounds. There's hounds of shadow. There's
hunting dogs.
There's a lot of hounds, and I'm not really sure at any given time. But these don't feel like the hounds of shadow. These are other hounds.
I assumed that they were the hounds that Onrack released.
The two that from the from the statues.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I did not get that, but I think you're right because there's two of them, and he did two of them, and they're like pretty much they murder everything. Yeah. So then they turn and look at Kalam, and Kalam's like, "Ooh, exit stage right, even." Yeah, and he starts running, and he's like, "Oh, they're chasing me. I'm gonna throw my diamonds and blow on the whistle," but he blows so hard on the whistle. That literally every demon and every diamond on the entire continent wakes up.
And they're all that same kind of demon, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But just an awesome idea that he's like, okay, blow gently on the whistle when you want the demon to come out of the diamond. He's like, hoot. And he's like, oh, And like every demon, and the list of like what happens as a result is so funny to me and so delightful. He's like a jeweler in some city is like, demon. There's a dinner with a merchant and his wife. Demon. There's human traffickers and murders plotting with Admiral Knox avenging fleet. Demon. It's just like he just lists off all the places that in
just
that
an
moment.
explosion of like one of the creepiest, nastiest demons across the continent, and they're just everywhere now, I guess. Is Kalam headed for like some like many-legged like centipede demon throne he's now the master of?
Well, I just love that all these people have these really rad diamonds and like, I'm going to keep this diamond. Just hope nobody blows the what? What's happening? Oh, God!
Oh, man. My demon diamonds, they are sparkly, aren't they?
They are sparkly. Until the one day. So funny. So even the demons, the 5 demons that he sends against those 2 hounds get defeated and they have to flee. So the hounds are pretty powerful.
Pretty strong and angry. They've been in those statues for a long time. They don't seem to have like every other sort of dog that we've seen has like its moments of like explosive destruction, but we've also seen them sort of like calm, calculating. They're very like thoughtful. Every time we've seen these dogs, they're like kill, 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 goodbye.
Yeah.
So interesting puppy dogs.
Then we finally get back to Cutter and Absalar, who are still trying to find the agent of Shadow that Cotillion sent them to. Turns out it couldn't be a better agent.
Woo!
It's our buddy Iscaral Pust.
So something that we didn't talk about earlier that I forgot to mention is as they were like on the Tistidor boats, weren't they like, there's Traveler? What's that guy doing?
Yeah. No, you're right. That was a very important point. They're like across the water. They see him standing on the shore, like angrily staring them down.
And I meant to ask you like what you thought the significance of that. Like the way it was written, I was like, is he on their boat with them? No,
my understanding was that he's still on the island that they're sailing away from on Drift Avali, and he's got the remaining
Malazan folks.
Yeah.
What stops him from sitting on the throne?
Well, I think it's hidden again. Nobody knows where it is on the island. I don't know. But that's
might as well give him the time. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. I forgot to talk about that point. It was like so small, but seemed very significant.
But you're right. And if our theory that Traveler is the sort of third prong of
him.
Yes, is the third prong of Dancer and Kellenved, then it would make more sense that he's there to stop people from sitting on the throne, right?
Oh, but he was betrayed by them. And so I'm like,
true. Yeah.
Wouldn't he be like, oh, finally, at least I can get back at these guys. But I guess he's maybe been on the island for a long time because he was like in that cave when Absalar and Cutter arrived in the first place. So
yeah.
But now he doesn't have like the guards who were there to stop him. So I don't know. Anyway, it seemed odd. And
he's got the sword Vengeance now, right?
Yeah.
That seems all bad for Cotillion, but they positioned it like it was good for Cotillion. I don't know. Anyway, Pust is there, and we have some delightful Pust. Some delightful internal monologue spoken out loud Pust. He's like, maybe I'll just flirt with her and it'll make my wife angry. Very funny.
And I just love that he's like, hello. And he's like, I should probably welcome them because then blah, 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 blah. We're on this journey. And then at the end, he's like, welcome. And they're like, this guy's characterization is just so perfect. I love every scene he's in.
Delightful. All right. We've made it to chapter 21. Chapter 21. I love chapter 21. We start with Febril. And we get this awesome backstory for Febril.
Cool.
I love it. Just blows me away that Erikson can constantly just like throw away what could be its own novel of awesome. And Febral's backstory is actually very sadly, I felt like similar to some themes that I used in my D&D campaign. Anyway, but it's awesome that he was part of this this city named Ugarat that was like going through kind of a Renaissance period, a cultural and a sort of a return to knowledge, and they were having this golden age.
Mm-hmm.
And Dasimultor and the Malazans come to invade, and they're like, okay, you're going to be able to defeat us, but you're not going to get our knowledge. We're going to burn everything. We're going to
kill everyone.
Kill everyone. Yeah.
Febral
is basically
was
exactly what happens it makes me so mad. Anyway,
which is what Febral was like. He was the one who was sort of given the command to do all that and slaughter everybody, and he carried it out. And then because they're like, well, we know the emperor likes knowledge, and so we will spit in his face by doing this absolutely heinous act. And then I guess he get like chewed out by his parents, and he was like a young, handsome guy, and he gets chewed out by his parents, and I guess blindly, unconsciously unleashes such a fury of magic that it ages him into an old man
and kills them
and
all their servants.
He's able to like escape the wrath of any kind of judgment for the heinous act he did, because nobody recognizes him. He just evades everybody's eye because he's permanently changed. It's
such a cool backstory that you just get, in this chunk, and it's just amazing. And again, it could be its own novel. It's so cool.
And it's one of those things where you're like, Shaik is constantly like, Febral, he's plotting with those other two jerks.
Yeah.
But he's always like the old man with a stick. And then it's like, actually, he's like, so there's like something very non-threatening about him, and then it's like, wow, what a dark, horrible backstory. And like, how old is he actually? I don't know, but
right.
It's great potential for great evil with that chump.
He also theorizes that Malik Rel is going to turn himself into the Empress and convince her that Corbeil O'Dom and Malik Rel were on her side all along. Interesting. And then he meets up with Chemist Rouleau and tells him that the whirlwind goddess is actually Talana Moss.
Mm-hmm.
Big deal.
I didn't know. So that made me be like, is the whirlwind itself, is that like her swirling body? Is she giant?
I don't know. I feel like that is a manifestation of her rage. Maybe not her corporeal form,
Yeah.
But
it could be.
Could be.
Right?
It could be. Yeah. So basically, this is another group that's kind of talking about how the Talana Moss have a throne. They only let a mortal sit on it. And the beast ritual, which we heard about a number of times, was the thing that shattered the Warren, the Corald Emerlon Warren, and is also what broke her rage broke the whirlwind goddess from the ritual of Talon, and kind of like Ruraku is a spirit, even though it's also a place.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of found kinship because they're both angry, is my understanding of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that's as much as I understand as well.
Sort of restored the whirlwind goddess's memories of her mortal life as a Talana Moss.
Mm-hmm.
So Febral's like, hey, I can open a warren a path, a sort of an elder magic way through that no one has used since the First Empire. Chemist Rouleau, if I do this, you owe me big time. It's going to allow you to retake the 7 cities, but you will owe me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Cool.
But this is interesting because I'm wondering, there's like that moment that I think it was Cotillion appeared to Febrile. Somebody appeared to Febrile. And then we saw like Febrile, not like what it was said, because it was like some mysterious conversation, but we saw that Febrile was like, interesting, things are not exactly as I thought they were. And then he seemed to have like some kind of change of heart in a way earlier in the book.
Yeah,
And
that was
so-
to betray Shaik. Was like, I had all this plan. It's like, maybe not. I'm not going to do it.
And so I'm wondering, I mean, all of the scenes with him in these 2 chapters seem to point to that he is still doing it, but is he? Is this like always what was planned, or is he tweaking things somehow?
Yeah,
I don't know. But interesting.
Good questions. So then we get to Leoric, who is worried that the whirlwind is getting bigger. Here's the Tano song. And he came to Raraku to find his dad, Osric, the god of light, or the son of the god of light.
Yes.
And so he puts on his sweet armor. He's like, I don't like fighting, but I will. Then he goes to meet Felicin the Younger at the Sacred Glade, and that our Karsa Orlong's
consecrated ground or whatever.
Consecrated ground, but kind of realizes that it wasn't that Karsa Orlong did something special here. It was that he sort of discovered a place that was already special.
Yes, discovered that this was always some kind of blind spot for some reason.
Yeah. And that it had this residual fissure of the Talon Warren. He's like, I'll use that to step through and go, find things, I guess, and doesn't realize he's actually stepping into a memory of Raraku.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Agreed.
Interesting how he like instantly recognizes that. And like as readers, we can recognize it because Kalam's sort of early vision as well. Where he like turns and he's like, oh yeah, look at all that water. Must be a ghost memory or whatever. And then as soon as he steps through, he's like, wow, all this water. This must be the earliest memory of Raraku. And I'm like, I guess so.
Well, also he finds what is basically like Neanderthal humans, right?
Yeah.
He finds this corpse that is the ancient predecessor to what will become humans. It looks human, but it's covered in fur, has a protruding brow. Yeah. It's basically a Cro-Magnon, which is awesome. Like the fact that we are literally seeing the evolutionary predecessors, it's just like the scope of these novels is wild.
The scope of these novels and like so interesting. I love this whole section about like the conversation about how things evolved and like when humans were Neanderthals, doggies were still there, and the domestication was reversed as to what you would expect. And then we don't know at what point that switched over, and why, and has it really? Like it's a very very cool sort of humans as pets to the pups doing the hunting, and the pairing of like with their superior smell and hearing, being able to like stand upright and like look over things was like a boon to the hunting tactics. It's like, again, just like a snapshot of, I mean, you say it all the time, that could be a book. I would read a book about an era where that's like the dynamic of life forms on the planet. So cool. So cool.
Well, and it's the reason they were able to reject the OP dinosaurs with swords on their hands.
Yeah.
Like the only the reason that the Kachain Chamal were not did not populate that area is because hounds domesticated ancient humans, and their combined abilities could fend off these completely overpowered awesome Kell hunters. Really cool. Then, so he watches this whole thing happen. He and then he realizes, oh, these hounds are going to murder me. Well, it was a good run. Nothing I could do. I'm certainly not going to open a warrant and go back, because I'm not going to let these hounds come back to my time and murder everybody. And then a dragon snatches him up.
Woo!
I loved how that was described.
Mm-hmm.
The cage of the hand, the claw around him. All he can see is this white scaled underbelly. Just awesome.
So good. So good. And like the immediate gratification of not like, I wonder what happens. Now let's cut back to Shaik. It's like dropped off and it's kind of like,
Hi, Dad.
Daddy, you know I don't like being in the claw, Daddy.
Yeah,
Let me ride your
let me ride on your
shoulders, Papa.
Yeah. Up, Daddy. Carry me, Dad. No, that's my daughter. Every single morning, I drop her off at school. Daddy, can I ride your shoulders? No, we're going to school, and I'm a dragon.
You stay in the claw.
Yeah. So this is an awesome scene. I'm just loving this whole chapter, chapter 21. I'm just loving it so much. The febrile backstory stuff, the cool Leoric stuff, and now we got a full-on dragon, and we got this awesome dynamic between Osric and Leoric, the cool father-son, awkward Osric as deadbeat dad who doesn't want to be around. Like you're just like your mom.
Deadbeat dad, but I also got like aloof, like rich dad energy.
Yeah.
That's like I have to find myself. I have to be who I am going to be, kid. And if you don't do that for you, like I can't help you with that. I have to go stare.
For you, Dad.
He's like, I'm staring into the void of this closing memory. God.
But everybody worships you. They don't worship me.
Get yourself another pet. And he's like, you don't even care.
What about your pet? They murdered my pet. Ugh.
Get another one. What?
Sigh. So good. I could only stand your mother for 3 days. It's more like 3 hours, kid. Such a great line. It's so good.
And just how glorious he's described. So like amidst it all, he's like, I mean, the god of light, he is described as radiant, like silver shining through his hair. His
gold,
like glorious, it's glorious jerk.
Glorious jerk, totally. Yeah. And we learn about the Daragoth, which were the
doggy dogs.
The 7 Hounds of Darkness.
Yeah.
So these are the actual Hounds of Darkness. And they made a pact with the first emperor, Decembalacus, which I think I'm nailing, by the way, the pronunciation
You're
of.
Crushing it.
Yeah. And that angered the Nameless Ones, who are the servants of Azath, right? And so we also find out literally the origin of Moonspawn.
Yes. Oh,
which is
so
rad.
Cool. The things that they say that I'm just like, oh wow.
It's so rad.
The 7 cities is actually named for the Daragoth, these 7 hounds of darkness. And now people are like, oh, it's our 7 holy cities. And it's like, well, the number survived, but that's not why they're called that. Awesome.
Love it.
What do they call the Moonspawn? They're like the
Sky Keep.
The Sky Keeps.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, there's 3 Sky Keeps that I've seen, but none of them are surviving. But like, oh, I remember riding Moonspawn all the way over to Nyon, 50 miles from here or whatever.
It was stuck in the ice, and we just let it flow.
me and Rack in the glory days, and them talking about like the precious gift that's in Moonspawn, and I'm like, what was there? A throne, I assume.
Yes, the throne, which he's stuck on that island, and so it's all kind of like coming into focus. I think all of this stuff and how everybody. It's such a rad scene, and I love how he's like, it's the Daragoth is like, actually, Dad, it's pronounced Daragoth.
I love that too. It's like, oh, okay. You're like, oh, what a mean daddy, and you're like, oh, what an intolerable boy. You just actually, okay, all right, Lorik.
He's like, okay, so if nobody, I'm not going back. I have no desire to the Leosin can screw off. I don't have any desire to be their god anymore. Let's stick something else on the, another surrogate. Your animal is dead. Your little demon friend, familiar, is dead. Let's go find you another one. Come on. Well, can I ride on your shoulders, Daddy?
Take you to the pet shop.
Yeah. Go to the pet shop. I'll buy you a new one. Come
Okay,
on.
you're mad at me? Okay, I'll get you a puppy. Are you
So
happy
good.
now?
It's so that dynamic. It's so that dynamic. It's like, we'll go to the pet shop / Edge of Oblivion, where all these demons are like popping into existence and obliterating themselves. It's just such an awesome notion. Like, we'll go to the edge of the memory and look and see, like, they're just popping into existence. Some of
And
them
then
surviving, some of them,
sizzling.
just roasting. And we meet up with Gray Frog.
I love Gray Frog instantly.
Agreed.
It's like the speech patterns so cool with like emotion, sentence,
Yeah.
change of emotion, thoughtfulness. Like it's
So good.
It's so good and so clear.
Mm-hmm.
I just really, really loved that. It gave me a bit of Abather vibes. I could like picture that kind of voice in my head. I don't know if you know
totally.
Abather that well. But it's like it's so cool, and immediately love this gross little beast that they pick up. I'm picturing it as like a small thing that they're like, okay, I guess you're the new pseudo god for this realm. Pack it up, get in the claw, take
So
us to
funny.
the.
And he's like, "Oh, you know a dragon? Sick! You have a dragon?" He's
yeah.
like, "Actually, it's my dad." Your dad is a dragon?
Yeah.
This is the greatest day of my life.
He's like, I wasn't sure if I was going to go with you, but now I will definitely go with you.
So awesome. Yeah. So anyway, they form an alliance of mutual delight. Then we head back over to meet up with Shaik, who's like, man, I have all the advantages. I should be winning easily. Why am I so scared of Tavor?
Mm-hmm.
And Bidethal shows up and is like, hey, I'm creepy. But I need to tell you that Haboric is now the destriant for Treach.
And she's like, impossible.
Yeah.
Not impossible. So improbable. There's no way.
Why would he do that? He didn't even like his own god. Why would he choose a new god?
And why would a god ever
Lame.
choose him?
Yeah. He's like, but you need to be worried about Haboric and Leoric. And she's like, stop. I don't care. Go worry about Corbulo Dom, Febril, and Chemist Rouleau. Get out of here. He's like, all right. Bye. And then Febril shows up with Bidethal, and they make an uber secret creepy dude pact.
But how legit is the pact? I don't know.
Oh, yeah. No, they both want to betray each other for sure.
For sure. But like, even like the fact that I guess just with everything Febril says, every little piece of whatever, I'm like, how much of this is pre-calculated? How much of it is recalculated from the visit, but still pre-calculated? And how much of it is he improvising because he runs into Bidethal and he's like, oh, this guy. I'll promise you all of the unwanted women.
Such a gross thing
Nasty.
to offer. And he's like, okay. But then Bidethal's like, if I hadn't accepted, he would have murdered me. So what I love with all of a sudden, Febril has been established as being pretty powerful, you know? Like all of a sudden, Febril's like, we realize Febril is a pretty potent
powerful
force.
Well, because like his the way that Chemist and Corbulo talk about him, it's almost like we need him for our plans. And I'm like, oh, I guess because he's like some like patsy that you're like using, and then it's like, oh, you need him because he's way more powerful. You can't do what he does. And I like that that's like sort of the reveal about this character is the magnitude of what his potential output.
Totes my goats. Then we check back in with our girl Solara, who is our drug-addled spy. She is still, super messed up. She kind of overheard what happened between Febril and Bidethal, but kind of didn't. She goes stumbling out, and a guard comes up and is like, I gotta murder you. But you know what? I'm gonna rape you first.
Cool.
And we have this incredible moment where she is like still out of it, still foggy, still under the effects of this narcotic, and murders him, stabs him in the back as he's on top of her. Incredible scene, I thought.
Oh, amazing.
And then immediately out of the frying pan into the fire, because another guy's like, oh, you murdered that guy? Oh.
And he's like, that guy's so stupid. I told him he should just kill you, but he really wanted this time with you, and you really let him down.
Yeah.
It's like he was good. And then very, very cool. Haborg to the rescue. Delightful.
And the reveal of that, where it's like the stranger walks in and you see his hand glow green. I was like, I know exactly what's happening. It's awesome.
Glow green, but looks like a tiger's claw, paw, whatever. He's got like little cat hands now.
So rad.
Meow, Haborg. Meow, meow. Yeah.
It's so rad. Then we head over to Felicin the Younger, who wakes up to Leoric feeding a lamb to Grey Frog.
And he's like, this is my new familiar. And he's like, am I? That doesn't seem appropriate. He's like, I mean, my new buddy.
Yeah.
And she's like, are you sure, man? He seems like he'd be eating us if he wants to. And he's like, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna. And
she's like, you got to get out of here. And Felicin the Younger is like, I no longer even want vengeance, which I think is tied to the fact that those Talana Moss gods, the Unbound, are no longer present in that glade, and they were the ones that were always making the Teblor want vengeance, want murder, and she just doesn't feel that anymore because they're not there.
Interesting. Yeah, I did not pick up on that, but I think you're right, because they definitely call out like, yeah, these Glade Wars gods, I guess, were, but they were just like Talon. Anyway, they seem to be like, normalizing.
She wakes up, she's like, I don't feel all that desire to murder him anymore. And then Haborg and Leoric have a historic meeting. And I like their dynamic. Where like, I always thought I would, be aligned with you. It's like, aren't we? Well, yeah, just in this one moment. But I like their kind of,
they're very. It seems like they're practical. Both of them are like, we have a goal. They're not. They don't seem like they're directly opposed to each other. And at least around this one thing, we have like a clear tangent where our worlds are touching, and so where it's like a tenuous alliance, but still like a respect, and like, I see that you are competent and not just evil. So
right, yes, and they both decide that they need to get Felicin the Younger out of there, and but they're like, not yet.
But both of us need to bear witness to what's about to happen, to
the Convergence,
which is there's like certain words, certain things that like keep coming up in Convergence. That was the big in the Deadhouse Gates, right? Was a Convergence was the whole.
I think so, yeah.
Where like all the soul taken and stuff were trying to march. Right. Very interesting to use Convergence again, and whether or not it's just like, the convergence of these two armies, or like but they're talking about it like it's a convergence. It's another huge moment. Something big is happening here.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, not to jump ahead, but the next scene the way the chapter ends with Karsa Orlong being like, I'm going to go back too, and I'm going to murder some dudes.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of the convert. Like, everybody is converging on this spot. Mm-hmm. We're going to have Tavor's army, Shaik's army, Karsa Orlong, who knows what else, all being present. And the S is going to hit the F, if you know what I mean.
It's interesting to me. Like, that is like a consistent theme across sort of all of these books. In Guardians of the Moon, we're following everybody, and they're going to get to this one point at the party. Something's going to happen, and I like that every book sort of has this moment of like a coming together of all these forces, and you feel the tension, you feel that build up, and it's just so exciting to be almost there.
Totally agree. It makes me very excited because I'm so anticipating what's going to happen. And I love how they're like, there's going to be a lot of dead people. He's like, well, are you worried about being a dead person? Yeah, but I just got to see it. I got to see what happens. I got to be here to see. I mean,
I can't just wear the T-shirt that says I saw, I witnessed the convergence.
Yeah.
I gotta like be there. It's gotta be authentic.
Yeah. Felician's like, is that worth it to risk your life? And Lyric's like, yep. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see something that's never happened.
Mm-hmm.
So then we have another part of the convergence, I think, or sort of teasing the convergence, is that's this tiny little scene with Leo Man and our buddy Korab. When I was like, oh, I hope we get a Korab moment. We don't, but it's just a very brief scene of them being like, okay, well, our work is done. The army is on their way, which just felt like, yeah, everybody is converging on this point. And then this awesome scene with Karsa Orlong, who is riding his horse. He's going to go back to murder some people. He'll even murder some people in Shaik's camp that he doesn't like. He didn't care. He'll murder them all.
Yeah. He's like, it's been too long since I've just been withholding opinions and trying to be normal. Time to be me. And want to do killing.
I'll fight with Leo Man, but maybe I'll also kill some of our friends because that I don't like. Let's see what happens. And then he's like, you know what? I haven't pulled this skelly bones out of my bag in a while.
I love that. He pulls them out and he's like, are you so eager to be rid of me? He's like, He's like, why'd you pull me out? He's like, honestly, I don't know. I don't like it now that I did it.
Instantly regretting that decision. Based on your what you're saying to me. So funny. This exchange is, dude, Karsa Orlong is so great. Such a great character. The whole, like, Shabal's like, guess what? You're in the House of Chains. No, I'm not. Yes, you are. You are the Knight of Chains. I don't want to be. I will murder everyone. Well, what about the crippled god? He's in chains. I will break his chains. Sweet. You're on our team.
So
then I will murder
him.
Yeah. So good.
I loved it. But one of the things I thought was so interesting about that scene is, like, you know, there's that sort of, quote unquote cliffhanger that you and I ended on one of these episodes where we're like, oh man, we really thought Karsa was turning a corner, and they're like walking the House of Chains. And then the next scene, he's like, a slice. And we're like, yay. But this conversation that they're having, I am wondering if it's like Karsa constantly shutting it down. It's like, ha ha ha, he's never your knight. Screw you, kind of thing. Or is it like, hey, once a god's like, you're my knight, that's not like a mortal option you have to not be that. Well, I'm so curious as to whether or not, like, what does this mean? Could he kill the god, or is he bound in some way because he was chosen? Is he bound in some way because he did go through some kind of ritual to make this sword with like witness of these people who are serving the crippled god? It's so it does feel like he might be one of the only people that could have the power to strike down the crippled god, but it also feels a little early in the series for that, but who knows? I do love this notion of, it's like, oh, hey, Lana, you're the president of the Jeff Kanata fan club. I don't want to be in the Jeff Kanata fan club. No, I'm sorry. That's the coolest thing about the fan club is that Jeff doesn't care whether you even want to be in it. In fact, his fans are so rad, they can do whatever they want. They could be doing fan club stuff or not doing fan club stuff. That's what makes the fan club so rad. The fan club's great because they could actively be saying they're actually fans of other people, but they're still a fan of Jeff Kanata. You're the president. And you don't even have to do anything that a president of a fan club would do. That's what's so cool about this fan club. It's the raddest notion. It's just the coolest conversation. She's like, oh, no. That's what's great about the crippled god. He doesn't care what you do. It's like, but I don't want to do that. No, that's the best part. Yeah. All right. Back in the bag. Just an amazing scene. That I will break his chains. Sweet. To then kill him. So funny. So good. Yeah. I loved chapter 21 so very much. And chapter 20 was great as well. It's a lot of dense, great lore drops, focusing in, figuring out I really think this throne situation and kind of getting a better idea of what Kellanved and Dancer were up to. Although, who knows? We could be swerved 6 more times. I don't know.
but
yeah.
I just feel like I get a better idea of what, and it's such an interesting plan. It's not a plan I've ever heard dramatized before. You know, this
Yeah.
notion of like, let's consolidate all the power and not use it.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Very awesome. You can't use all the power until you're powerful enough to stop anybody who'd stop you from doing that.
Yeah. If you start using the power in drips and drabs, people start getting upset. And now they're
Mhm.
going to have to strike you down. Wait until you have all the power and they can't do anything about it to use any of the power.
Yeah.
Just cool. Cool. All right. Well, let's get to our favorite sequences, a little passages that we like to quote. I have 2 this week.
I have a couple, but you let me find. I have like a couple of super short ones.
Yeah, mine aren't very long either.
I have like a couple super short ones, but then I have like one longer one. It was tough because there was like so much like lore dumpage. I felt like I was
Yeah.
processing so much, but there's like
Agreed.
still a couple moments that I decided to pull because I just liked everything about them. But I will start with just one of my really short ones here. The Leosin worship themselves, Lorik. I happen to be a convenient figurehead.
Yeah,
Which
they
is
worship
Osric
themselves.
talking about his
Yeah.
quote unquote followers.
It's like, Dad, come back. They worship you. They don't worship me.
No.
They worship themselves. And I kind of love the characterization of all of the people in the light world, you know, like the people that follow
Mhm.
light. They're just kind of narcissistic and self-absorbed and a little pompous, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, we're light, we're golden, you know.
Because
I
of
love it.
like the history of like the tropes that would be associated with like people who follow the light.
Yeah.
I like that it is like you would expect them to be like, like
Right.
so sweet, so nice, we're following the light. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, they're just jerks.
They're the
just
jerks. Yeah. Here's my favorite bit of conversation with Lastara and Pearl about how she's she's kind of realizing she's attracted to him.
Mhm.
It's very funny to me. It says, the bastard's smooth surface was wearing off, revealing unsightly patches that she found cause both for derision and a strain. I'm not doing a good job reading this. Revealing unsightly patches that she found cause both for derision and a strange, insipid attraction. Too old to dream of perfection, perhaps, she had instead discovered a certain delicious appeal in flaws. And Pearl had plenty of those. I love that. So good. It's just like, I'm not going to find the right guy. In fact, now I'm kind of attracted to
This
what's
guy.
wrong with you. So good.
So good. I've got one more from Hiboric, rescuing Solara.
Yeah.
I've been looking for you, the man growled, or so I've just realized. Extraordinary how single lives just fold into the whole mess over and over again, all caught up in the greater swirl, spinning round and round and ever downward, it seems, ever downward. Fools, all of us, to think we can swim clear of that current.
I almost picked that too. I had that stood out to me. It's such a beautiful rumination on the futility of life.
Yeah.
And this is like the broest of bro moments. It's almost like when someone compliments your spouse and you're like, yeah, I love this moment. This is Onrack and Troll, and they're talking to Monok Ochem. He says, I'm curious. There were spears to be found among the cash you had recently departed. Why did you not avail yourself of a weapon at that time? Troll Sengar's reply was low and cool. I am not a thief. The clan leader faced Onrack and said, you chose well, Onrack the Broken. I know. Monok Ochem. I know is basically where it ends. I know.
Yeah.
I know.
I just like that he says that, and I just picture like Monok looking over like,
Yeah.
that's a winner. That's
You
a
did it.
winner.
You picked yourself a good one. Yeah, I know. It's like when someone's like, wow, I really like your wife. I'm like, I know. I picked a good wife.
So I've got one more. It's a bit longer, and it's one of those sections where it's like it's tough to say that it's not like my favorite sentence, but it is one of my favorite sentiments and like the growing of being himself again from Karsa Orlong. A pervasive urgency was driving him on. He was unable to explain the desire in his own mind, yet did not question it. He had been gone a long time, and though he did not believe the battle in Raraku had occurred, he sensed it was imminent, and Karsa wanted to be there. Not to kill Malazans, but to guard Leoman's back. But there was a darker truth he well knew. The battle would be a day of chaos, and Karsa Orlong meant to add to it. Shaik or no Shaik, there are those in her camp who deserve only death, and I shall deliver it. He did not bother conjuring a list of reasons, of insults delivered, contempt unveiled, crimes committed. He had been indifferent for long enough, indifferent to so many things. He'd reigned in his spirit's greatest strengths, among them his need to make judgments, and act decisively upon them in true Teblar fashion. I have tolerated the deceitful and the malicious for long enough. My sword shall now answer them. The Toblakai warrior was even less interested in creating a list of names, since names invited vows, and he had had enough of vows. No. He would kill as the mood took him. He looked forward to his homecoming.
It's so good. So good.
Love it.
I'm not going to even decide who I'm going to kill. I'm not going to like come up with reasons for killing. I'm just going to,
it's killing
feel
time.
it in the moment.
Yeah. If the mood takes me, maybe I'll take some lives.
I love the line you read about it was going to be full of chaos, which he planned to add to.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm gonna add a little soupçon of Orlong into the chaos.
Into the chaos mix, yeah.
So good. So much fun. I have not looked what next week brings. Are we doing 3 next week? I think we might be.
I can double check. I bet
It's on the screen already. I know I put it up. I just not looked myself. But hey, if you would like to suggest topics for our opening non-spoiler section, we would love that. We welcome it. You can email us at dlcfeedback@gmail.com. You can also post those on the YouTube in the comments section. We love getting comments. Or you can visit our Discord, which is 5x5 DLC on Discord. There's a book club section there with each novel of the Malazan Book of the Fallen broken out in its own discussion section. So please do participate in the community. We love it. We have great folks, really awesome people for you to meet and chat with there as well. So next week, is it 2, 3?
3.
3 chapters. I thought so. 3 chapters. We'll see you then. In the meantime, really good idea possibly to dance it out.
When the world's too dark of a place to be, and you need an escape from reality, open up those pages, it's sci-fi or fantasy, whatever genre you please. And join a book club, 'cause you won't read it on your own. Join a book club, so you'll be held accountable. It's just a means to an end, but you're doing it with your friends, so join the book club.